This is apparently done by Aaron Keller himself. It is a very, 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 very long blog. But it is the future of Overwatch, probably. It says, director's take, opening up the conversations on 5v5 and 6v6. Hey everyone! There's been a lot of talk about 6v6 lately, and it's only intensified in recent weeks since we posted our latest director's take and made a Twitter post with a promise to talk about it in the future. Well, now is the future. And this is the next piece, so let's get into it. Wait, let's not get into it quite yet. This is pretty complex and nuanced topic, and it gets to the beating heart of what makes this game tick. Our players have different opinions and preferences about the ideal number of players in the Overwatch match, and so does our team. We're a microcosm of the broader community and discuss this internally. I'm hoping this piece will serve as an introduction to our own discussions and jumping off a point to engage with all of you. I'd like to set a few expectations and ground rules. You know what's really funny? That they're coming out with this as soon as Marvel Rivals drops, and it's 6v6. If you'd like a TLDR, the what's next section should suffice. Secondly, I'm not here to tell you what you ought to like or even what's empirically better. This is a game, and your preference for fun is relative to your own taste, ability, and experience. Lastly, there are years of decisions that affect such a fundamental piece of Overwatch. Some of you might be intimately aware of these, while others might not. Before diving in, I'd like to set the stage and give some context on some of the larger changes to the game that ultimately culminated in the 5v5 format we have today. Okay. There have been 3 large format changes to Overwatch, and the first happened shortly after the game was launched. This was hero limits. Before, this could be any number of particular hero on one team. You could have 6 Genjis or 6 Reinhardts. If my memory serves me right, the winner of Team 4's first internal tournament was the 1 Winston and 5 Zenyatas. We call it Quinston. Zenyatta's orbs stacked with no cap to healing at the time. It was glorious and terrifying. Those were good old days. Chat, I'm gonna be honest with you. That is the good old Overwatch, bro. You had 6v6, bro. It's basically like we're playing right now in Marvel Rivals. Ay, ay, ay. There was no roll queue, bro. Listen, it was a lot of fun. But I do think 2-2-2 is better for the game. I don't know. It's pretty fun. During early development, it was necessary to have duplicate heroes per team. Our first core combat milestone only had 4 heroes. As the roster grew, this was no longer necessary, and it also introduced issues. Overwatch heroes have very distinct kits with impactful abilities. Stacking abilities could be fun, but it possessed challenges to balancing many of those abilities in game. People reference double barrier, but back then you can only have 6. Imagine cycling 6 immortality fields. The number of team compositions and strategies available was huge. That's what I really liked about that back then, chat. But I really think this game should stay 2-2-2. Because if you have, like, let's say they're saying 5 Zenyatas, and you want to nerf Zenyatta because the meta is 1 Winston, 5 Zenyatas. If you nerf Zenyatta too much, then Zenyatta's not even going to be played anymore. So I think 2-2-2 is good. With roll lock, you can't have 2 Zens. Let's see. The variety was great, but we didn't feel like we could ever truly balance the game without severely watering down our heroes. So we made the choice to impose a limit of 1 of each hero per team. This essentially solved the issue of ability stacking, but it didn't have a few side effects. It traded some of the creativity in putting together team compositions for more consistent and balanced experience. It also took away some choice from players. If someone wanted to play Tracer, but you were already Tracer, chat, I'm already Tracer, they would be unable to. A theme of this and future decisions was limiting match variety as well as player freedom and creativity in order to create a more balanced, consistent, and competitive experience for players. Remember this point, because we'll touch on it a few more times in this piece. I think the hero limit rule was a great decision, and we would make it again. But the other 2 large format changes have have a lot of positive benefits, but are not as clear cut. Second large change to the game's format was the move from open queue to roll queue. I do think roll queue should stay, chat. Even if the game goes 5v5, 6v6, roll queue should stay. And also, what do you call it? Hero limits. I don't think, yeah. Anyways, I'll give my feedback later, chat. Which limited team compositions to 2 heroes from each role. Before roll queue, there was no enforced 2-2-2 team composition, and players had the freedom to select any role they liked once they loaded into the match. With open queue, teams had a lot of freedom of choice. About what heroes and team compositions to play. I'm gonna be honest with you, no one plays open queue. No one does. And for the people who say, hey, I'm top 500 in open queue, they're probably like plat in roll queue. But there were a few problems that roll queue intended to address. Prior to implementing roll queue, there was a stark imbalance in the number of people playing each role within each match. Damage was by far, and still is today, the most popular role, and tank was by far the least popular. In fact, seeing matches with 5 or 6 damage players on a team was not uncommon. Yeah, those were fucking awful, chat. I would have to play Ana, and it would be 5 DPS and one Ana, which was me. Those games were ass. That's why I think games should still be 2-2-2, even if they, I don't know what they're gonna do to solve the tank problem though. They can't make all tanks broken though. They need to make the tanks, they need to do something with tanks. This role imbalance frequently led to wildly imbalanced matches between teams. The game played better when when heroes from all 3 roles were selected. True. The disparity caused social issues as players were trying to pressure others into playing tank or support roles, even if they didn't want to. It made balancing heroes more difficult since we couldn't balance around a certain role ratio for each team, and it made introducing new heroes more difficult, since any new hero kit had to take into consideration hundreds of different team compositions and abilities that could overlap with it. The move to roll queue format was aimed to mitigate these challenges. I think roll queue is good. Moving to roll queue solved many of these problems and added some additional benefits to the game as well. With roll queue in place, matchmaking is based on skill within a given role, not just skill overall. Some players have widely different skill ratings per role, so the ability to matchmake around set roles provides a big, measurable boost in match quality. I think that's true. Roll queue also solidified the identity of each role, and the fantasy of doing that role's job became clear. Yes, like your support players, you guys are healers. You should heal your team. Good job, chat. However, the switch to roll queue system did have some downsides, the largest of which was much longer queue times. Prior to roll queue, the matchmaker just needed to find 12 players of similar skill in order to put the matches together. After roll queue, it needed to find 4 players of each role to make a match. The total number of players queuing has no effect on this. It's almost solely governed by the ratio of people queuing for the least popular role. Given the game's lower relative ratio of players queuing for tank than other damage and support roles, queue times went way up. We'll go into details later on this. Holy shit, this is a very long vlog. Okay. The team tried to address this imbalance in various ways. We introduced a priority pass system that gave players who played low demand roles tank a shorter queue time when they switched to damage. This had a positive effect for several weeks, but its influence quickly faded. We also introduced systems to reward players for playing tank and eventually giving them a loot box and a bunch of XP for queuing that role. None of these were able to put a dent in the demand for playing DPS. Damage queue times drifted a bit lower over time, but much of this was due to the introduction of open queue competitive and the permanent loss of damage players unwilling to wait for that long match. Bring back loot boxes, chat. There was additional drawbacks with roll queue. I mentioned earlier that many of our decisions made improvements to the game at the cost of match variety and player freedom. Team compositions were now locked to 2-2-2. This was another step to a more consistent experience within Overwatch, but sometimes consistency can start to feel samey. I don't even know what the that word is, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you, my Florida schools did not teach me that. What the hell does that mean? Samey. Oh, so that's samey? It looks like samey. Florida education. There was some pretty exciting metas in pre-roll queue world, and swapping to a different hero, different role mid-match was often a much bigger change and more exciting. I don't know why I have to talk and then I have to like sniff. Then swapping to one of the same role. It's literally slang. Oh, I never heard that as well. Like hero limits, role queue took away a part of the freedom in selecting heroes that served as the base of Overwatch. But I often wonder if the success of it is as cut and dry as that of hero limits. Could there be an in-between version that softens the original problems without completely solving them, and also isn't quite as restrictive as our current role queue system? A bit more on that later. You know what they should actually do? I just thought of this. What happens if they had open queue where you get 12 players in the game? Actually, no, I think that would cause problems as well, chat. Think about this though. Imagine if the queue, solve the queue times by just throwing 12 people into a game, but then you guys could talk about what characters to play, but knowing Overwatch, no one's gonna talk and everyone's gonna be selfish, because that's what people are, selfish. So anyways, you get into a game, all the roles are unlocked, and everyone gets to swap around roles. I think that would be pretty cool. But then again, you're gonna have those people who just instantly get into a game and then instantly lock a role. Oh. No, open queue. Wait, is that open queue? I thought open queue was, what do you call it? You could pick literally anything you want. 4 characters and 2D, like you could have 4 DPS. I thought that was open queue. Plays the game for how long? Bro, I don't even play open queue. Yeah, I'm pretty sure open queue is you get to fucking pick whatever character you want, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you load into the game and 2 people pick tank, no one can pick tank anymore. Then your options are either DPS and support. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say, yeah, open queue is fucking, you play whatever you want. I'm talking about, they just need to make open queue with role lock. There you go. Why not that? Okay, anyways, we're almost done here, chat. We're almost done. I think we're in the mid. Oh my god. Yeah, then you open up a can of worms, and it's basically whoever gets the pick first gets their role, blah blah blah. It could be a lot of problems. Listen, chat, I'm just theory crafting here. The third major format change. These changes, as well as longer queue times, led us to the third and most recent major format change to the game: the shift from 6v6 to 5v5. This is almost a blog within a blog, but we're going to cover 3 things: why we switched to 5v5, queue times after the switch to 5v5, what the team thinks about 6v6. Here we go. Oh shit, chat. We're gonna get some answers. We're gonna get some answers. Why we switched to 5v5. I'm pretty sure they just named all the reasons why they switched to 5v5 literally just a second ago, but let's get this. Why we switched to 5v5. There are many reasons behind the transition to 5v5. When we launched Overwatch 2, we talked about the greater individual agency that players could have in 5v5. Overwatch is a team sport, and it requires players to rely on each other to be successful. You hear that, chat? I'm gonna read that one more time because apparently Overwatch has lost this thing right here. Overwatch is a team sport, and it requires players to rely on each other to be successful. That means join voice chat, you This was even more the case previously, and the game could be frustrating if your team was out of sync. Join voice chat, you fucks. Many times, fights in 6v6 couldn't resolve until ultimate abilities came online. corrected that until ultimate combos could be executed to break through those 2 tanks worth of mitigation supported by high, uncontested healing output. The world of 6v6 could have really high highs, but really low lows. One of the design goals of 5v5 was try to raise that floor, even though it was at the expense of some of... Okay, sorry, chat. Is it me, or is my... Even though it was at the expense of some of those high moments. Okay. That's not me, right? My Florida brain is freaking out, bro. Overwatch 2 also... I have my own thoughts about this 6v6 and high highs, low lows. Overwatch 2 has a greater emphasis on FPS gameplay. There's less damage mitigation and CC, and players get to shoot at enemies more. Crowd control could take players out of the game for an extended period of time, especially when they're chained back to back. A 5-second Sombra hack may freeze on her primary fire, Brig Bash, Ana Sleep, Orisa Halt, and Sigma Rock could all happen consecutively to one player. I mean, that's kind of fucking funny if that happens to someone, though. Typically, a tank player who could often survive this onslaught, at least in-game, their real-life mental health was another story. I mean, it's kind of funny if that happened to someone. I mean, since when does Overwatch really care about someone's mental health? What? Damage heroes often complained... I mean, okay, why we switched to 5v5? Wait, chat, why we switched to 5v5? They literally just talked about, what do you call it? CC. But couldn't they just keep 6v6 and just take away the CC anyways, like they just did? Damage heroes often complain that their role was the least impactful relative to the strength of super powerful tank synergies and support heroes undoing their playmaking. I mean, that's kind of fucking... That was true. The emphasis on ability cooldown management, ult tracking, shooting barriers instead of players, and not big enough timing windows to shoot enemies to get eliminations were all factors that contributed to this feeling. Support heroes also had to focus exclusively on healing since they were bigger team health pools and more incoming damage on the field with the additional tank player. Good. Support players doing the role. That's fucking crazy. Holy shit. In 5v5, they had more agency to add some damage or duel other heroes. I mean, now in 5v5, they're DPS players. Tank synergy wasn't always fun. What? Rein, Zarya, Diva, fucking Winston. Yo, Winston, Zarya. Tank synergies weren't always fun. It slowed the game down and stabilized it, but sometimes it absolutely ground it to a halt. Whoa. Some people... people point to double shield meta as an example of this. It wasn't just about double shields, though. The ability to stack a very defensive heavy lineup, especially in game modes that require a team to push through a small choke, caused a lot of matches to feel like there was no progress at all. The game is faster now, and it doesn't typically stall out. It feels like there is more room to move around a map without the need to earn every inch of it. See, chat, every inch counts. And 5v5 fights are often less focused on moving around in a death ball formation, and there is more room to take angles, flank, and duel other players, which brings in more of that FPS gameplay. I mean, couldn't they just like make maps bigger, I feel like? Also, I feel like on top of making maps bigger, couldn't they just make it so, like, let's say if a character locks another character with a shield, couldn't you implement something in the game that makes the other tank player not lock something that has a shield? While 6v6 can have high moments, it's also hard to follow. No, it's not. No, it's not. Tracking 9 players is easier than 11. Oh, sorry. It's you plus... Okay, never mind. Sorry. It's you minus you. There are fewer visual effects on screen, especially during big team fights. Overwatch is a pretty demanding game, and moving to a 5v5 made it a bit more cognitively manageable. Lastly, one of the biggest benefits of 5v5 was dramatically reduced queue times. Let's explore that. Queue time data and context. The chart below shows ranked play queue times per role after the introduction of role queue to Overwatch in 2019. Compared to queue times per role in Overwatch's 2 5v5 role queue format, As you can see, the shift to 5v5 role queue dramatically reduced queue times for all players in all roles, and most notably the damage role, which is the most popular role. Average competitive role queue times. Damage. Holy shit. Overwatch 6v6 post role queue. Bang! 7.6 minutes per queue. Average. Overwatch 2 5v5 lifetime. 2.9 minutes. I don't know if that's true. Sometimes I get 10-minute queues, chat. Sometimes. Okay, supports. Overwatch 6v6 post role queue. 2.8 minutes. Now with 5v5, it's 1.4. And then with tank, you waited 1.8 minutes. And now you're at 1.3. The biggest factor driving the difference between Overwatch and Overwatch 2 queue times is the ratio of players queuing for each role. I think also one of the biggest differences between Overwatch and Overwatch 2 that makes queue times impacted is making a game free to play. I think that also helps with a lot. We hear players speculate that long queue times is a result of not enough players playing Overwatch. That isn't the case. Ooh, they're saying, chat, that isn't the case, that this game has less players. But instead, that relative to the other roles, players generally queue tank less, leading to longer wait times for all while we wait for tank to free up and find a proper match. So, in practice, the actual ratio of players queuing for tank support and tank damage and support is much closer to the current 1-2-2 format than the previous 2-2-2 format. As a result, the 5v5 role queue format better mirrors actual player interest in each role, and making the switch resulted in shorter queues. The sharp drop-off in queue times in October of 2022 is when Overwatch 2, along with 5v5, shipped. The queue times of all heroes dropped and are much shorter than they were in the 6v6 world. This is almost all because the game required one less tank in a match. But if you look at the current queue times, you can see that there is a lack of tanks compared to other roles. Just flipping the switch and returning it to 6v6 would likely cause a return to previous queue times or worse. Ooh, they mentioned 6v6, chat. Regardless of the amount of players in game, queue times are always reflective of how many people are queued per role. In other words, the main driver of increased queue times is the ratio of players queued in each role. Since there are less players queuing as tanks, queues would likely go back to the way they were before. Chat, the only thing I'm getting from this whole blog so far is y'all motherfuckers need to start playing tank. Start fucking playing tank. Even if you're not having fun, play tank. Even if you want to die in game, play tank. Uh-oh. Okay, now the important one, chat. And what's next? Thoughts on 6v6? Hey, listen, I would play tank more. Chat, I would play tank more if it was 6v6. Because I like that tank synergy, bro. That Winston, like I was saying earlier, that Winston Diva, that fucking Ryan, Zarya, Kings Row, that probably never... that shit is fun. Also, you guys are saying, oh my god, Jay3, you're lying. Bitch, I hit rank 3 in Overwatch 1 on tank. Okay? Let's relax here, chat. I was a good hooker back then. People knew me on the streets, first name basis. Okay? The game started its life with 6 players on each team. I discussed why we moved away from 6v6, but that doesn't mean it's without any merit. There were moments in madness that could happen with 12 players in a match that just don't quite, I don't even fucking know this word, chat. Coalesce? When they are 10. Shit, sorry, it's from Florida. It was almost too... do I have a Florida email? Yeah, I do. It was almost too much to keep track of. Correction. Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. 6v6 was not... What do you call it? Coalescence. Yeah, coalescence. 6v6 was not hard to keep track of, chat. No, be honest with me. Chat, for the people who played Overwatch 1, was 6v6 hard to keep track of? I do understand 5v5. There's 2 less people on the field, 1 from each team. No, but 6v6 was not hard to keep track of, bro. And I'm gonna be honest with you, chat. So there's something about hitting a 5K in Overwatch doesn't feel as good as hitting a 6K, bro. No offense. Playing Marvel Rivals and I hit a 6K. Oh my god, bro. Sometimes I scream, but without the S. Correction. It was too much to keep track of at times, but there was a part of that was a part of the charm. There are big moments in Overwatch 2, but they don't quite have the same chaotic, over-the-top feeling to them. Part of that chaos allowed players to feel less pressured in a match. There was an extra player to take up a bit of the slack for everyone that was performing poorly. Ain't me, bro. Chat, I think they're talking to you guys. I'm joking. And since that player was a tank, they had quite a bit of impact. There was a lot more hit points and defensive capabilities to burn through, which had stabilizing effect on gameplay. Teams would fold a bit slower than they do now. We went over some of the issues of tank synergy earlier, but having two of them allowed one to focus on protecting their backline while the other held ground or pushed into an enemy team. I see no problem with that. The tank role had a lot of depth and understanding in how to work with other tank on the team. This part of the mastery curve took a long time to learn, and for the small group of people devoted to it, that was a part of its I can't even fucking talk anymore. We mentioned the difficulty in balancing tanks for 6v6 earlier, but the past year and a half has shown us that there are issues with balancing tanks for 5v5 as well. For much of the Overwatch 2, tanks have been fairly balanced. Ooh, for much of Overwatch 2, the tanks have been fairly balanced. Ooh, okay, we're not going to go into that conversation. But when one of them becomes powerful outlier, like Maga, that can be felt strongly in the world of one tank. I just want to say, for the people who have been playing Overwatch a long time, in Overwatch 1, there was a season that even Seagull made a YouTube video on. It was like season 19 or 20, maybe something around there, where it was the best balanced game anyone has ever could fucking ask for. You could play anything you want, and everyone was having a fun time. You know what they did? They started buffing and nerfing stuff, and they fucked it all up. Even Seagull, dude, Seagull came back and made a YouTube video about how great Overwatch was. And now he doesn't even touch the game anymore. What's next? Okay, chat, this is probably the important one. Okay, chat, you ready? Okay, that was a lot of setup. I think I put more effort into this than any essay I wrote in college. So where do we go from here? At the end of the day, we want to make the game that players want to play. Ooh, is that 6v6 or is that 5v5? Because of these challenges mentioned previously, we are focused on making 5v5 the best experience that it can be. Oh, chat, that basically solidified it. It's going to be 5v5. However, because we operate as a service to our players, we always remain open-minded to reevaluating our decisions based on your actions and feedback to give you the best game experience we can. Rather than introduce a disruptive, permanent change to the game, we'd prefer to explore the space further and make the changes based on that exploration. I told you guys, didn't I tell you guys a long time ago? What they should do is make an arcade game mode or make a separate game mode just so people can try it. Throw in a 6v6, see if 6v6 is more popular, because I'm pretty sure they could see which game mode that they have is popular. And once they introduce that game mode, see if more people play this game mode than 5v5 and shit. And then go on from there. Then you can have a discussion. You can't change Overwatch to 6v6 just like that, chat. You need to have like information. Okay, anyways, let's see this. We said that we're looking at running a series of events to try out different core team composition formats in Overwatch 2. With the community has just once or twice suggested a test. Why not put various forms of 6v6 in the game in order to gauge the results? We agree. Oh my god! I'm so fucking smart! Sorry, I had to say that. We agree. And based on your feedback, we're exploring how we can test different forms of 6v6 in the game to gauge the results. This is just taking time. However, for reasons that may not be readily apparent. Oh my god, chat. I should be a dev. Hire me. I want a contract right now. And it's not going to be a lot of money. I just want to get paid $10 million. I just want to get paid $10 million a year. And ay. The first and honest largest, the first and honestly largest region. See, I can't talk anymore, man. Reason is the need to do this in a way that allows the game to have optimized technical performance. I'm referring to frame rate and memory constraints with the 12 players in a match. I'm gonna be honest with you, I agree. That's literally the problem with not Overwatch, Marvel Rivals right now. It's their optimization. Overwatch and Marvel Rivals is a little different. There's a little bit more going on in Marvel Rivals because you can destroy stuff, but and destroy buildings. But yeah, there have been quite a few upgrades and additions to the Overwatch 2 that have an impact on the performance of the game. These range from new features like allied outlines and enabling healer vision by default. Chat, do you guys have healer vision on by default? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of you guys apparently turn that off. I don't get healed. The addition of more technically demanding hero kits, as well as visuals upgraded to UI, heroes, and maps. In a 6v6 setting, these upgrades can have significant impacts for our players, causing the game to underperform on older systems. Overwatch is a fast-paced game, and maintaining a game that runs smoothly across all our platforms is important for the player's experience. While a limited time test could arrive sooner, the team is still investigating exactly how long it would take to permanently increase performance across the game. This would be a large effort that would most likely take several seasons to accomplish. Hey, listen, at least they're talking about it. Also, I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like for UI and maps and stuff like this, I feel like simple is best. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Another issue, and one that still gives me anxiety about opening this Pandora's box, is what to do with queue times if enough players prefer 6v6 to keep some sort of it around. You cannot, chat, I'm gonna say this once. You cannot have 5v5 and you cannot have 6v6 in the game. It has to be one or the other. You have to pick. You can, if that's gonna split up, that's gonna basically, you know what they should do? Why don't they just get rid of a lot of these arcade game modes or whatnot? I know people like playing arcade and whatnot, but like, you don't need 6 or 7 or 8 different fucking arcade game modes going on at once. Also, I'm sorry, cut out open queue. Cut out open queue. Just make it roll queue. You could just start slashing some stuff. If you take away some game modes, more people are gonna have to play the other game modes. Yeah, listen, chat, I'm gonna be honest with you. Take away the arcade game modes, bro. There's a reason, yeah, you have custom games. Like, just go join a custom game. Get rid of that whole arcade game mode, dude. The team was not able to solve this issue previously. While we have some ideas now, there's no guarantee that they will work. Is there a world where people are willing to live with longer queue times to play this format? Maybe, but that's a pretty risky move to make. Hey, I just want to let you guys know, while we had long queues in Overwatch 1, we finished all 20 seasons of Hell's Kitchen. We finished Kitchen Nightmares. We finished a lot of series. Well, we have some ideas now. There's always no. Sorry, I read that. Okay, right here. I'm here. We also have tens of millions of new players that have only played 5v5. We want to be openly mindful not to frustrate those who like the game as it is today. Nah. Okay, anyways. Chat, you guys gotta be openly mindful to those players. But even, I'm gonna be honest with you. You know why they're being openly mindful? Because once they do try 6v6, and once they do play 6v6, they're gonna love it. So they're trying not to make them love 6v6. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Whether it's 5v5 or 6v6, I'm still gonna play the game, so. The outcome of these tests will give us a lot of valuable information to consider moving forward. We'd run a test for a few weeks and gauge the interest from the community. I literally... My brain, chat, it's too big. I'm about to go brain blast, bro. I said this months ago. Then we measure the impact it had on other players' experiences in Overwatch 2, like 5v5, arcade, etc. Take out arcade. We take the lessons from this playtest to see what we can learn about the mode within the current game ecosystem and for the future of Overwatch. We would reflect carefully on the learnings from whatever tests we run and explore how to best give players what's being asked for. Whether that's a world of 5v5, 6v6, or even both, is for the future for us, is for future us to figure out. You cannot have both. You cannot have both, chat. I'm being honest with you. You cannot have 5v5 and you cannot have 6v6. If you want to play 5v5, go play it in a custom game. You cannot have 6v6 and 5v5. You're gonna basically ruin what do you call it, queue times even more. And that's basically the whole majority of this blog, is because they're talking about queue times. You cannot do it. You're basically gonna split the player base. Not good. I'm going to jump on a soapbox for a moment. What does that even mean? I've never heard that expression. When you look at the changes to Overwatch since its inception, it's clear that many of those have reduced some of the variety within an Overwatch match. We get feedback from some players that Overwatch can feel the same from game to game. Well, I mean, that's why you have metas. That's why you buff and nerf characters every season. Didn't they say literally when Overwatch 2 came out that they were going to nerf characters and buff characters to make every season feel unique? I don't feel that so far. While much of this gets attributed to 5v5, we feel like that there is more play at play here. Sorry, I'm losing myself. Besides running experiments with 6v6, we like to run some that re-examine the ways that we tried solving previous problems, specifically with the goal of bringing some of the freedom back to Overwatch match without the severity of issues that accompanied it. For instance, we think that there could be ways of putting a team together that aren't quite as rigid as a set composition, but not as loose as open queue. We'll be running at least one quick play hack based on this idea in Season 13. There you guys go. We got a little bit of information. Season 13, chat. Which is in 2 seasons. There are some gotchas to this direction, but after reading 400 pages of this blog, I hope you're all able to see that there are some trade-offs to many of these decisions that go into this game, and into any game, really. To wrap it up for now, your feedback has driven both our inspiration and commitment to testing new ideas in-game. We want to be super thoughtful about how we implemented new ideas into the live game, because there are millions of players who jump into Overwatch each season, and we want anything we put into the game to be benefit the community as a whole. Wait. There are millions of players who jump into the Overwatch each season. Why do I sometimes see like the same 5 people queuing? Ultimately, the Overwatch team wants to continue building the game that you want to play seasons after season. This blog, or thesis rather, is just the start of this conversation. This isn't the last time we're going to be getting into a 5v5 or a 6v6, and we can't wait to share more about our plans in the future. In closing, we appreciate you so much, and we love seeing your passion and dedication to the game, Team 4, and the Overwatch community. The team hears you, we see you, and we're incredibly thankful to be on this ride with all of you. Can't wait to share more in the upcoming months, and let's make a great game together. I mean, I understand where they're coming from. I understand where they're coming from with the whole, hey, queue times, because there wasn't one time they mentioned queue times, chat. They mentioned queue times a lot. But then you cannot mention queue times and then mention, hey, we're gonna go 5v, or we're probably gonna have 5v5 and 6v6 at the same time. You cannot have both. I'm sorry. Make the game 6v6. Or make the game 5v5, and that's it. I'm gonna be honest with you. If they put their foot down and say, hey, we're gonna go 6v6, hey, we're gonna go 5v5, well, the people who are complaining they rather like one or the other, they're gonna either have to play the game regardless, or they're gonna have to find a new game. At least they're talking about it. But when it comes to actually making a decision, they have to put their foot down. And yeah, I personally think they need to reamp this whole Overwatch thing. They need to delete some of these arcade game modes. I think they need to like, you know, move people. If people wanted to play arcade game modes, they could play it in the custom game or make their own server. Also, I'm sorry, open queue, delete it. No one plays open queue. Just delete open. If you delete open queue and delete arcade game mode, I'm pretty sure more people are going to be playing quick play, or people are going to be playing ranked, and that's going to make queue times probably a little faster. No, chat. I've only seen 2 people here say they play open queue. I'm sorry, but to benefit the whole, I think cutting open queue and making 2 people sad will benefit more people, I think. And if you wanted to play open queue, you could literally probably go into a custom game and make an open queue there. I just don't also understand a lot of the things that they were saying in the beginning. They were saying Overwatch, what do you call it? CC, all this Overwatch CC stuff, blah, 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 but they took out CC. So Overwatch 2 has a greater emphasis on FPS gameplay. If you go back to Overwatch 1 and take out the CC, basically it's the same FPS gameplay. Also, a lot of their answers they could solve with just like technical things. People going double shield and whatnot, just make a character only lock 1 shield. I feel like there's a lot of different things they could do there. But what's interesting right here is that I don't know if they did this on purpose or what, but this is like in bold lettering. With that said, we're looking at running a series of events to try out different core team composition formats in Overwatch 2. So what happens if they don't go back to 6v6 and they don't keep 5v5? What happens if we go to 4v4? I don't know, chat. Okay, friends, YouTube thinks you might like this next video, so let me know if they're right.